Welcome! Today, we're going to unfold the map of childhood. We're exploring the incredible journey of human development all the way from the very first smile to the complexities of the teenage brain.
Okay, let's dive right in. So what exactly are developmental milestones? Well, think of them as landmarks on our map. They're not just a simple checklist of things a kid can do. No, each one, from a smile to a first step, is actually an external sign of the amazing rewiring and growth that's happening inside the brain. They give us a real window into a child's developmental health.
And that really brings us to the big question, right? Are these just items to check off a list? Or are they something more? Something like a window into how we actually become who we are. Today, we're going to treat these milestones like signposts on a fascinating journey, showing us not just what kids do, but how they're building their minds and their sense of self.
Our journey begins in the foundation years. This period, from birth to age 3, is just a time of unparalleled neural growth. The brain is changing faster than it ever will again. The groundwork for everything else is laid right here.
So in just the first few months, you can see the building blocks of social connection just popping up. That social smile you see at 2 months, that's not just cute. It's a huge marker of neurological engagement. And by 4 months, we're talking about chuckles and cooing to get your attention. It's literally their first back-and-forth conversation.
Now this is where things get really interesting. Around 9 months, there's this massive cognitive leap. It's called object permanence, and it's the understanding that something still exists even when you can't see it. Think about that for a second. That's a profound moment. It's the baby's brain realizing the world is a stable, predictable place that exists even outside their immediate view.
And then, boom, the toddler years. We're talking about an explosion of language in this fierce new drive for autonomy. You can see the whole story right here. We go from just a few single words at 18 months to stringing 2 words together at age 2, and then bam, by age 3, they're having full-on back-and-forth conversations with you.
We all hear about the terrible twos, right? But here's the thing. Right in the middle of all that chaos, something truly beautiful starts to happen. When a 2-year-old notices a friend is crying and actually seems concerned, that's it. That's one of the very first visible seeds of empathy. It's this fundamental shift from being totally wrapped up in their own world to recognizing that other people have feelings too.
All right, let's turn the page on our map. We're now entering a phase where the child's world just expands dramatically, moving beyond the home and into the classroom and navigating the complex landscapes of school rules and friendships.
The preschool years are this magical time of incredible imagination. 4- and 5-year-olds are developing these rich, make-believe worlds. But at the same time, their brains are also getting organized. They're learning to follow rules in games and building those foundational skills they're going to need for school, like being able to count to 10 or name their colors.
Now, in the school-age years, thinking becomes way more logical and organized. But the real game changer, the superpower they unlock, is something called metacognition. And that's just a fancy word for the ability to think about your own thinking. This is what allows kids to plan how to solve a problem or check their own work, a skill that is absolutely essential for academic success.
And now we enter one of the most misunderstood territories on our map, the adolescent brain. This isn't just a bigger kid's brain. It's a brain that's undergoing a massive, fundamental period of neurobiological remodeling. It's a brain under heavy construction.
And this slide just explains so much, doesn't it? It perfectly illustrates the central conflict of the teenage years. You've got the amygdala, which is the brain's emotional gas pedal, and it matures early. It's floored. But the prefrontal cortex, the expert brakes responsible for impulse control and risk assessment, well, that isn't fully developed until the mid-20s. So what do you get? All gas, no brakes. High emotions with an underdeveloped control system.
This timeline really shows how that search for identity, which is the central task of being a teenager, evolves. It starts with pulling away from parents, needing more privacy. It then moves through a period where peer influence is at its absolute peak, and it ideally ends with a more solid sense of your own personal values and a more adult-like relationship with your family.
So, okay, we have our map. It's filled with all these milestones. But how do we read it correctly? Well, it turns out the map isn't universal, and context is everything.
This is such a critical point from the research. The standard map we often use is drawn from studies of what researchers call weird populations. That stands for Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic. So what does that mean? It means our universal map doesn't actually account for the incredible diversity of human experience around the globe.
And just look at this. It's absolutely fascinating.
Cultural practices directly impact the timing of these milestones. Vigorous massage rituals in some African and Caribbean cultures can lead to babies sitting and walking earlier. Meanwhile, a Dutch cultural emphasis on rest and regularity can lead to slightly slower motor onset, but also to very high rates of infant happiness. It's not better or worse, just different.
So, for parents and pediatricians, reading the map isn't about rigid judgment. It's a two-step process. It starts with surveillance, which is just a fancy way of saying carefully observing a child's growth over time. Then, if a concern comes up, it moves to screening, which uses formal tools to get a clearer picture.
This whole process provides a clear, supportive pathway, and the goal is always early intervention. Why? Because leveraging the brain's incredible plasticity when a child is young can fundamentally change their life's trajectory for the better. It's that powerful.
And that leaves us with a final and pretty provocative thought. Our children are growing up in a digital world we could have never imagined. So as this world continues to change, you have to wonder, how will the very map of development, the milestones themselves, change right along with it?